What's your guys'
Coach,
take?
here's my question, because I get where Baylor or Auburn and UCF are coming from. They're 5-7, right? Logistically, this is kind of a nightmare to say, hey, play a game in 2 weeks. Well, I already sent my kids home. Like, we're done. Football was over. We can't, a week later, be like, just kidding. It's time to play a game. I understand what they're doing. Notre Dame's players didn't opt out. They let us know within 2 hours, the selection committee keeping them out of the playoff, that they said, we just don't want to play the bowl game. We have our entire coaching staff. We have all of our players. We just don't want to play. That sent a message to college football. I think it sent a negative message, and that's somebody that I think if I feel comfortable calling them out. What do you say about that?
Well, yeah, I would say this. I was very disappointed. Number one, I really like their head coach.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman.
I mean, Marcus,
great, right?
You know, I like the way he handles things, the way he do it things. You know, I think you get. I've already been in, if there's anybody that can say, I've already been in his situation, where I'm having to stand out in front of our facility and talk to a camera in front of God and everybody and say, you know, being mad and try to take the high road and this is how you do things. But our whole thing was come back, we're going to go, I'm going to play in this bowl game. We're going to go, they put us with Ole Miss, which I thought they did on purpose because Ole Miss beat Alabama. We're going to show that we were right, that you're not part of the top 4 teams in the nation to go play in the playoffs. And here we win like 42-3, and we prove our point. And our kids still to this day, if you talk to our fans, still one of the greatest, the top 3 with the Rose Bowl, with the Alamo Bowl coming back from 31-0. It's right there with all of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's, I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's any negatives. The other group that's really hard is you have your freshmen that they just came to college. Okay, and then they get through it, and you get to go to a different city. You get a chance for them to practice there, to go out there, to get a chance to play a different opponent, and they get to grow up. There's a whole different learning experience that goes on for a young person when you get a chance to go do that instead of, well, I'm going to go home for Christmas.
Yeah.
This was really tasteful, by the way.
And for me,
can I ask you? I don't want to. I know you've already got the points circulated, but I think from a player perspective, okay. Yeah. There's a senior wide receiver who plays for Notre Dame. Who just said, Coach, what? I don't get 15 more practices with my guy. I don't get to play in a bowl game. And there's a freshman wide receiver at Notre Dame who's like, so that's it. Right? I mean, they took their ball, they went home.
Yeah. No, and that's the point I was going to go to, so thank you for that. But it's the guys that are, there's over 100 kids on these college football rosters, and a lot of them will never play another game of football again. You know, I was privileged enough to have the skills great enough to go on and play in the National Football League. There are a ton of my teammates who never got that opportunity. Yeah. And so to say that we're not going to play this bowl game because your feelings are hurt, because you want to take your ball and you want to fold your arm up and say, oh, you didn't give me an opportunity to get. No, what about the kids that you're recruiting? Not only are they seniors, they're juniors, they're sophomores. These guys who have been waiting for these moments to play in these games. And bowl games used to be fun. You go into a bowl game, you get the gifts, you hang out with your guys, you build that camaraderie, you get those extra, practice times. But for those players who love the game of football, who've committed to you, whether it be walk-on, whether it be scholarship, guys who did not play all year long, guys who, or play minimal minutes all year long, who is committed to this program for years upon years, and as they're going out the door, you say, yeah, kid, our feelings are hurt. We're not playing in this bowl game. Have a good life.
Well, yeah, they get one more game to put on their resume. And another thing, like a lot of coaches, they're built in, assistant coaches built in, they get a bowl bonus to go play in a bowl game, and they get to do things. So I'm glad you brought up, all the swag that they get, kids get and how they do things.
Still to this day, I played in the Continental Tire Bowl. I won a national championship too in basketball, but I still have all of that stuff as well. So all the stuff that I got from being a national champion, all that I got from playing in the Continental Tire Bowl, I still have that memorabilia today. We still share these memories and moments till this day. It's 20 years ago, Coach.
Well, and here's the other thing. So my last in 2020, the COVID year, like 3 days before we're supposed to leave to play Arkansas in the Houston Bowl, we lose all our defensive linemen. We're down to 2 defensive linemen. And so I have to come in and I have to say, we can't play. I mean, this is a health issue.
That was COVID, right? They all had COVID.
Yeah, they all tested positive. And so it's one of those situations where then you got to call Arkansas. They're mad because they want to play in it.
Oh, yeah.
All of our kids want to play, and I got to walk into a room and say, hey, we can't play this because I can't go into a ball game knowing that all I have is 2 guys left here.
Let's be very clear. That was a shut down the world pandemic was the only way that Coach Patterson was Super Bowl. That was an act of God.
But I would say but the feeling was the same. For me, for my kids, I felt I felt terrible.
Yeah.
Again, for your coaches, bowl bonuses, a chance to go to Houston, be able to hang out in a hotel. I mean, all of it. Now, you're going to have a mask on. You're going to do all these other things that probably wasn't going to be quite as much fun. But yeah, it's tough. And, so for me, I don't see. I think the positives outweigh the negatives, I guess is my point. You get now, there's a lot of coaches say, well, we don't want to be able to put a kid's resume on in a bowl game because now people are going to see it so they can go get him in a portal. There's those that, there's those, because there's a lot of them now that they don't film their spring games.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people to come out and they don't want to be able to get a hold of their spring game or on TV so they can do it. So
a lot of
I get it.
Yep. Coach, again, we all excuse you for missing that bowl game. It's going to be okay. Although I probably had a mean tweet or two somewhere in there about.
Oh yeah,
TCU
I promise you, I just didn't find him.
Let's go find that tweet. Skipping the game against Arkansas.
He was after me there for a while.
Yeah, I know. It was coming. Tulane, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, Tulane. No head coaches bowl, except it's the college football playoff. All that and more on our playoff playbook. He is the knower of all things ball. Stephen Willis, locked on Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss, it's Tulane. Look, if I'm going to have a first-round draw in the playoff, I either want James Madison or Tulane, and that's what the Rebels got, but they're missing their head coach, Lane Kiffin, now Golding in. I mean, a lot's happened the last 2 weeks in Oxford. I just don't see what happened in Game 1 being any different now in matchup number 2 between these two.
Yeah, and ideally you would like a matchup like this whenever you go into a playoff situation, and you have the rematch, which means when all the chaos around the coaching situation is going on, you already have a game plan that's been basically prepared from earlier, and there's still some stuff in that game plan that they have not touched. I think that Ole Miss has the advantage in this game because of the offensive line and the defensive line, and anytime you are deficient on the lines, that is usually problematic in a football game. And then when you add into the fact that Tulane is below 100 in passing yards allowed, it's not a recipe for a successful day. But this is the biggest game in the history of the state of Mississippi. There's nothing. There's no pro sports. There's no bowl games. There's nothing. This is everything. And Ole Miss is going all out, drone show, laser show, as you would expect them to do. They're planning on having a coronation in Oxford on Saturday.
No doubt. Talk me through, and you've covered it so well with your show Locked on Ole Miss, the Kiffin saga, because that is going to distract the team even more than a normal coaching carousel move. Where does this roster sit now that Golding's been named the head coach?
I don't know. The one good thing with Pete Golding is basically the 2026 staff is almost done, and those coaches are in the building working on retention and the transfer portal and all the stuff they have to do right now, while the guys that were coaching the team this year are game planning for the playoffs. And in a world of 4D chess, Pete Golding might be doing that just a little bit. Now, there's rumors of Kejuan Lacey and Kevin Smith, and there's certain things that could happen, but I just don't know that anybody is there because everybody is so locked in on this playoff run with taking care of Tulane. And if you win that game, you get a Sugar Bowl matchup against Georgia. And anybody that knows anything about Ole Miss, the Sugar Bowl is a special place. There'll be 30,000 fans in that stadium for Ole Miss.
No doubt. Just a couple seconds left here. Stephen, give me a final score prediction for this rematch between Tulane and Ole Miss.
I think Tulane's going to do better than they did last time. It's going to end up being 38-24. Ole Miss doesn't quite cover, but it's the playoffs, so it doesn't matter.
Yep, Jake Retzlaff will be an X factor for Tulane, no doubt. Thanks as always, Willis.
Thank you.
Jesse, Coach. Jesse, you said it off the air, and I want to get into it right here with this one. The teams who are missing their head coach, or the guy who was their head coach all year long, or a couple coordinators, those are the teams that will probably struggle the most. So the teams you can't buy in the postseason. No. If that's the case, this game is movable object against stoppable force, because both these teams lost their head coaches.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, I go back to this is the perfect matchup for Ole Miss, a team that you've already played. There's a game plan already in place, like Steve was just talking about, and you do have the better athletes and the coaching staff that was under Lane Kiffin that's still there working for the bowl game. You just, this one is a lot easier to handle, and that they'll get through. It's the next one, all right? If you win this game, you got to go face those dogs from Georgia. The Tulane one, I think this is might be, to me, one of those glorified live practice runs for Ole Miss.
Coach?
Well, one of the advantages that Ole Miss has with this is that, Lane probably, at least the way the perception was, he was calling it. Where now you have a guy upstairs, Charlie Weiss, that now still same terminology, everything, but you're going to have a different edge. They really don't know. Tulane doesn't know how Charlie Weiss is going to call a game.
Yeah.
They'll know a little bit. Georgia will know better if they win because they'll watch Charlie Weiss call this ball game. So one of the advantages that I'm pretty sure, because it's probably going to talk Tulane into going back the last time Charlie Weiss called a ball game, make him do extra work in the film work, see how he calls it. Third and long, how's he treated? Is he a screen guy? Is he a vertical guy? How do you do all that stuff? And so I think it's an advantage because I think Coach Golding he's kind of taking the reins. He's got everybody going there, at least from a perception from the outside looking in. Whereas no matter what they said, John Summerall did a great job in the championship game. He's done everything, but Pete Golding's not having to do two jobs.
Where does Tulane find 35 points? They don't have a 35-point makeup roster. Not a coach, not a player, not a receiver, not a quarterback. They don't have 35 points on this roster that they can make up to make this game more respectable.
Leading rusher is the quarterback.
It's got to be a takeaway for them to have a chance that the ball has to get turned over by
7 or 8.
It's just, it has to be one of those kind of games.
Agreed. They don't have. There's not 35 points worth of players and coaches on this Tulane staff.
Well, so it's just like, again, I go back to the Wisconsin game. I knew that there was coaches that are going to be changed, so we ended up blitzing them. We got them in like 2nd and 12s and things like that.
Yeah.
Then that became an advantage for TCU because we were faster doing it, and it wasn't a go grind 2nd down. Okay, you get 4, so you still got 6. You got 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. So they have to do something to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, Tulane's not the 11th best team in the country. They're not as good as Vanderbilt. They're not as good as Texas. They're not as good as... And I get it's a hypothetical thing. Oh, he's using the hypothetical. Maybe on a given Saturday, 2 out of 10 times they'd beat one of those schools, no doubt. I just don't think that's this weekend against Ole Miss. I really don't. Rooting for you.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see for the love of college football.